thunder. Well, now you got it.
You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Alrighty, the call-in line telephone number if you'd like to be on the program, 844-527-8723, 844-5-CRUSADE, email address, same as it ever hath been, I am King Jude at protonmail.com, or just King Jude at MikeChurch.com, KINGDUDE at MikeChurch.com. Crusader Stadium open for your chat at CrusadeChannel.com/chat. In a span of 12 hours, 2 international leaders were brought to heel like little puppy dogs. Sheinbaum of Mexico and Trudeau of Canada are now Trump boot-licking lackeys as a result of the threat of 25% tariffs on stuff coming in from Canada and stuff coming in from Mexico. Sheinbaum, for her part, the Mexican, was like, hey, no, you ain't got to do that. No, let's be friends. It was a war song. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? Said, no, Mr. Trump, no. Yeah, I know what I said. I know I said that. I was just trying to, come on, it was the art of the deal. I was just trying to get you to the table. By the time Trump was finished with Sheinbaum, Mexico was sending 10,000 of its finest soldiers to the U.S.-Mexico border, was pledging to aid and assist in helping to stop the shipment and spread of fentanyl through the same border, and as a reward for that, got a Scooby snack. The Scooby snack was a 30-day delay in the 25% tariff. Now, I still say that he has to impose the tariffs. You got to stop Ford, John Deere, and every other manufacturer in the United States who thinks that they can just offshore all their manufacturing and labor to Mexico. It still has to be done. Same thing with the Canadians. By 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, the day began with Trudeau out there grandstanding going like, well, Canadians can just do this. Canadians can just go, we will find our own Canadian brands of things. We won't buy American. We will forego Anita Bryant and Florida orange juice, you see. And one of the funniest moments from yesterday when Trudeau said that, and the greatest radio producer in the history of radio producers yesterday, Mrs. O'Connor, was like, oh yeah, just sit over there and sit up there and get scurvy. I'm like, scurvy? Who even knows what scurvy is anymore? I haven't heard scurvy since high school. Yet the Canadians are going to get scurvy now because they're not going to get any Florida orange juice. Well, by 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, Trudeau was on the phone. That was Eastern Standard Time. Trudeau was on the phone with Trump, and hey, no need to get all crazy and stuff. No, we can have, let's come to a deal. No, we'll help secure that northern bowl. No, we can help stop the spread of fentanyl from the northern end of it. The cartels have figured out that here's what's going on the southern border. Just simply, it's amazing here. We're 2 weeks in now. And CBP and ICE, that's Custom and Border Patrol, Immigration, Custom Enforcement, whoever else is down there, are telling, I watched Lawrence Jones on Fox News give a report yesterday, and he was saying, he goes, look, they already knew where the tunnels were. He said under Biden, the Border Patrol knew where the Coyote and fentanyl tunnels were. They just didn't do anything about it. He said, and I heard Pete Hegseth actually say this, Hegseth actually said, well, the grift has ended. The Biden regime was being bribed and was being, Border Patrol, and we're going to take care of those people that were doing this. We're basically being bribed, and we're being paid billions of dollars, he said, have exchanged hands between the Mexican drug cartels and those that were supposed to be guarding the southern border. Now, I don't know what that says about Customs and Border Patrol because I don't know any CBPs. I know some of you that are listeners have family members that are CBP, so maybe you've heard something similar to this. But he said it's all been brought to an end. They know because they know where the tunnels are. You know what they're doing? They're backing up concrete trucks filled with concrete. They're pouring concrete into the tunnels so they can't be used. So this is now forcing the cartels to find new ways around, which I'm sure in the short term they will manage to find some. It's 1,000 some odd miles of border, so there are other places to move to. And of course, they have also been going around all the way up into Canada, and then coming through the northern border with it. Trump also, as I was on a call with Xi Jinping yesterday, where he told him, tariffs are coming your way too, pal, and you need to stop this. You can stop it. You need to stop the exportation of fentanyl out of your ports. It's leaving Chinese ports. You know it, and I know it, and it needs to stop, or there's going to be a massive, massive penalty for this. So, all in all, my statement for the day is tariffs work. So why haven't we been using them? Because we have been led by selfish, greedy criminals who have had selfish, greedy, criminal crime families that they had to support. So, the grift is over. The grift is coming to an end. Now, I don't know that you can bring all of it to an end, but you can sure as hell try. Here's something else that's happening here. And I want to spend some more time talking about tariffs because I still think people are misunderstanding. Well, we got to have this, and we need to have free trade. And the people, not the American, come on, King, we have to be able to import things. Importing things that are luxury items makes complete sense. It's been happening since Noah. No issue with that. Things that you can make and things that you have the resources to make, it is foolish. Suicidal, indeed, to not make it yourself. To offshore that labor and offshore that process is basically to give a foreign country an advantage. Why would you do that to your own people? It just makes absolutely, there simply is no common sense, rational argument for not having tariffs on things that you can make in your country. And every country should have them. That just ought to be a rule. We'll talk more about it. I want to spread the love around here a little bit. This is funny, kind of interesting, human event story here. The Florida Jaguars, that's right, I said Jaguars. The Florida Jaguars, who won the Stanley Cup last year. It was a good Stanley Cup, too. Were greeted at the White House yesterday. Were hosted by President Trump. He congratulated them. And they brought the Stanley Cup trophy. Can I tell my story real quick? First year I was ever at Sirius Satellite Radio was in 2004. It was one of the first trips I'd ever made. I'll never forget. It was like in July of 2004. And I went there to go do a week of broadcast. And I remember sitting in whatever studio it was doing a show, because I think I was on in the afternoon at that time. And I'm sitting in there, we're doing the show. And in the way the studios are set up at Sirius XM, everything is glass. There's hardly any walls. So you can pretty much see from where, if you go to the lobby area, they have that main display studio where they put Megyn Kelly at now. They used to put the wise guys who did that show in that fishbowl studio, we called it. But you can see through the fishbowl pretty much all the way to the end of the building because every studio's got glass windows in it. So you can also see what's in the hall. So I'm in the studio, I'm doing the show, and I look down the hall, and I see these guys, these big dudes in suits, like gangster suits, black ties, and they're pushing this cart down the hall, and there's this giant metal-looking thing on it. Now, look, I didn't know what it was. So I'm looking at it, I'm doing a segment, I'm talking, and I'm going, what the? They finally get close enough, and I said, I'm like, holy, of course, back then I was probably using 4-letter words. Holy, you know what? That's the Stanley Cup. And then about that time, the guy that was producing the show, who actually worked at the New York studio, goes, no, that really is the Stanley Cup. Because at that time, Sirius Satellite Radio had the contract to broadcast all the radio versions of the NHL games. So, and they stopped. I was like, hey, I waved, and the dude stopped right there in front of the window. So from me to Maggie, I've actually seen the Stanley Cup. And it's impressive. This thing is big. This is not a little trophy that you hoist up in the air and kiss. This thing was massive. So in any event, all of the Florida Panthers, I'm sorry. I said Jaguars, Panthers. I got confused. All the Florida Panthers hockey team go to the White House yesterday. Every single one of them is in a blue suit, white Oxford shirt, and red Trump tie. I didn't even catch it. I was watching it in the background because I was working on something else, and I could see that unlike when sports teams are hosted by Biden, they all looked miserable. They were all like, yeah, dude, don't smell my daughter's hair. But with Don John and Mar-a-Lago doing the hosting yesterday, everyone looked happy. And he got up there and he gave he made some remarks about some other things, but he talked about the Florida Panthers winning the Stanley Cup. And I didn't even notice it until Maggie said this morning. She goes, you saw that they all had Trump uniforms on. I'm like, no, I didn't even catch that. So it was an interesting day. Just one more little side note. Sean Duffy, whose wife works for Fox News, Rachel Campos Duffy, their little daughter, they got 9 kids? 8 or 9. It's either 8 or 9. And Rachel's, I guess, she's in her 40s now. So the last child, which happens as, you get older in life, I'm told, there are the incidents of Downs. Well, their daughter, the last one that was born, her name is Valentina. And little Valentina is Downs. Now, she doesn't look like she's super Downs. I know there's kind of a scale there. But little Valentina has Downs, and there is the most sweetest, wonderful little photograph that was taken yesterday. Little Valentina in the Oval Office with President Trump. And Trump just has his, he's just sitting at the desk, at the Resolute desk. And then she just sitting there, and she has the you-know-what eating grin, and he has a you-know-what eating grin. And it's just such a refresher from the horrors of Biden and the shape and the Obamas. By the way, what happened to the Obama? What happened to Big Mike and Barry? We never got any more dirt on that, did we? They must have squashed that story. Let's circle the wagon now. Let's go to one of the other big stories today, and I want to settle this controversy, which is why you people hired me as your host. In 1961, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, with the stroke of his pen, created this monstrosity called USAID. It was created by an executive order. Full stop. End of discussion. This is the way most things happen. Congress will say, we're going to appropriate money for transportation products. We're going to build, we need to have an interstate system. And then they will pass the bill and they will send it to the president. If he signs it, it becomes a law. And then they will start appropriating money for it. The executive then will create the agency. Pretty much what the Constitution says. That's how it ought to be. Congress could create it, but usually it's the president that creates the agency. So Kennedy created USAID. That's really all you need to know, is that Congress can appropriate money and they can say, hey, USAID can use this bucket of dirty money and can send it around the world to lop the boobs and the private parts off of teenagers, to buy condoms and contraceptions, and then most importantly, to murder the soon-to-be born. The United States paid $1.78 billion to Planned Parenthood in the first 3 years of the Biden regime. Almost all of it went through USAID. That's the fact. So the Democrats are apoplectic over this. Because, they are not just in the cult of death, they are the leaders of the cult of death. Well, their spigot has been cut off. They don't know where they're going to get money to continue population control and murdering the soon-to-be born. And they have to have their pounds of flesh. You know why. So yesterday, Schmuckle Schumer and Jamie Raskin and all the other usual suspects were out in front of the USAID building, literally throwing temper tantrums fit for a 4-year-old. Hell, I don't even think a 4-year-old would throw a temper tantrum like that. Wait a minute, it's our money. This is an amazing thing. The same people that wanted to hire 80,000 IRS agents to investigate you and me and harass us and eat out our sustenance now say that Elon Musk, at the behest of President Trump, does not have the right or the authority to look into their books. Oh, it's okay when they want to look at your books and they want to harass you and they want to tax you. That's fine. You just can't look. No, you can't look at us. And Elon's going, you guys are rotten. This is a criminal organization. By the way, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, was out there pretty much in lockstep with Elon going like, he's right, and we are going to cut it. We're going to roll USAID into the State Department, and I'm going to personally supervise who gets what, if anyone gets anything. Folks, there is a new day. These people, say what you will about Don John of Mar-a-Lago, he ain't playing games. This is not Trump 1.0. This is not we got moles and people that are working against us in the White House. They are now actually working against the bad guys, and the bad guys are freaking pissed. The bad guys are mad. I love it when the bad guys are mad. That's a good day. That means that somewhere someone's life is probably being spared. It's probably a baby. That means that someone, somewhere, some good may actually be happening because the evil wasn't there to perpetrate the crime. Here's a question. If they are so committed to the rights and privileges and to the rights and liberties to control women's bodies all around the universe, and the money dries up, won't they just do it as an act of charity now? Won't you just continue killing the babies and performing the trans surgeries and this and that and the other just as an act of charity? I have an idea, Jamie Raskin. Why don't you form a nonprofit? Here, see how you like it. As a matter of fact, I can't wait to hear. You should make a videotape while you're doing this. Film yourself going through the process that you helped create and to file for a 501c3 or a nonprofit corporation. Go ahead, try it. Talk about a nice fun day or year or two going through bureaucratic red tape and paperwork. Go and try and start a nonprofit. I hope you actually are successful at it. Then you can raise all the money you want, and then you can disperse it through your charities throughout the world and continue the killing. You see, but that's not what they want. It is the joy, the satisfaction they get of knowing that previously there was nothing you and I could do, apparently, to stop the spread of tax dollars, as they call it. It's more like debt dollars. Tax dollars being siphoned off from the American people through payroll taxes and excise taxes and all other manner of taxes and what have you, and bills and FCC fines and penalties and fees and schedules all over your cell phone and your cable bill and all that stuff. The joy that they have been having in knowing that they're taking good people's money and using it to bring about evil. There's a certain sort of sickness here. And I do mean sick. These people are sick. There is a certain sort of sickness here. A sick, twisted, masochistic, or sadistic joy, pleasure that they derive from knowing that good people try to make honest livings, were taxed for the privilege of doing so in their America, and then part of their wage that they rightfully earned, that was theirs, was taken from them, sent to Mordor, and then sent to kill babies in Africa. The gig's up. No, I don't hate Balboa. I pity the fool. Another one of those great classic 1980s tunes. Mike Church Show here on the CRUSADE Radio Network on a Tuesday. Hey, congratulating Samuel Miller again, our big winner of the AR-15. And have yourself a merry, manly little Christmas, then have yourself a merry, manly New Year contest. We had a bunch of winners. Tracy Staller, the big winner of the day. Another contest is coming up this spring after Lent. So when Lent is concluded, I'm going to start dropping hints. I tell you, heavy metal is the only hint I'm going to give you. And there's only like 3 people in the world that know about this, and they're all sworn to secrecy. So if Shuffle 13 finds out about it, we'll know who the mole is. But it's going to be the biggest and greatest radio contest in the history of great radio contest. And it's really, really cool. And I think that all of you are going to think that it's really, really cool. So we'll tell you all about it as spring comes and we get underway. This portion of the program brought to you by, let's talk about coffee for a moment. We're drinking Capuchin Holy Roast. It was freshly ground this morning, our own blend, and it is simply to die for. It is so good. Get yourself a bag or 16 today. We got fresh shipments coming in all the time. They make it right down the street here. You can't get it any fresher than when you buy Capuchin Holy Roast, whether it's ground or whether it's in whole bean. It's literally within days of being made, roasted, and put into bags, it's shipped to you. Pick up a bag or 16 today. Try it. You're going to buy coffee anyway. Why not try ours? Go to shop.mikechurch.com. Don't forget the spices, Beast and Butt Rub, the Capuchin, or the Chicken Mamu, and the Acadiana Steak Seasoning, all the other great books and everything that's in the store. Shop.mikechurch.com. But try the gourmet coffee today. Shop.mikechurch.com. Yeah, we're using combos of spices now. All 3 of the Beast and Butt Rub, the Acadiana, and the Mamu. Let's talk about USAID. By the way, while Trump was busy subjugating and making his, let's see, what is a family-friendly way to say this? Making Trudeau and Sheinbaum his presidential lapdogs. For extra credit, he worked on the guy who's the leader of Panama. Panama! So, I didn't know this. 38,000 Americans were killed during the building of the Panama Canal. It's the largest public works project in American history. President Trump yesterday said that if you did it in $2,025, the Panama Canal, the construction, the cost of life that was lost, 38,000 men, the resources that were put into it, the actual cash that was laid out would be almost $1 trillion. Almost $1 trillion. 38,000 men were killed. I thought I was thinking that they were killed, it was the heat. You're in the tropics. You're almost on the equator. And I was thinking that mainly mosquitoes and malaria, which there was no treatment for or cure for back then, or whatever other jungle fever, yellow fever, or whatever you would get down there. He said snake bites. He said snakes. So apparently that area there where the canal is, where that lake is just crawling with critters. Black widow spiders, mosquitoes that have dengue fever and malaria and yellow fever. And I guess the snake, what is a South American, Central American, Latin American snake? I think they call it the fer-de-lance. I forget how many people are killed every year in Nicaragua and in Panama and in those Central American countries like that by just the fer-de-lance, walking around at night barefoot. One of them whacks you on the leg, you're probably going to die. It is a highly poisonous little serpent. So anyway, in any event, I had never heard the snake bite part, and I hadn't really thought about it, which kind of it makes the toil and the sacrifice of building the canal that much more. It's something that calls out. Well, why did Carter give it away? You have to think about about some of these things. Why would he have done that? Well, number one, because he was stupid. Right? That's the primary reason. And number two, because the Democrat Party and Democrats don't think about the United States in the same way most of you do. And again, they think of us as an ATM machine to fund their nefarious activities. And then it's how do dare approach the great and powerful Dem. They're like the Wizard of Oz. You can't see behind the curtain. If you look behind the curtain and you see something terrible, you're not allowed to come back. Ignore that man behind the curtain. You're not supposed to even if you do see it. Stinks to be you. Well, this little thing that is happening over USAID might be one of the most profound events of all of your and my adult lives here. I have a report here, and this actually comes from the National Catholic Register. This is Daniel Payne writing about a year ago, December the 13th, 2023. Abortion advocates received nearly $2 billion in federal funds over 3 years, data shows. Now, wait a minute. I thought there was a Hyde Amendment. Biden got rid of it. I thought there was a Mexico City policy. Biden got rid of it. A congressional report released this week revealed that major abortion advocacy organizations received nearly $2 billion in federal funds between 2019 and 2021. How much was that? $2 billion. A GAO report showed that several pro-abortion groups received $1.89 billion in federal funding over the years in question, the Congressional Pro-Life Caucus said in a review of the data. Of that amount, the vast majority, $1.78 billion, went to Planned Parenthood Federation of America, the report said. Why don't we just make Planned Parenthood Federation of America illegal? Why is this entity allowed to be incorporated? Why? Who runs around passing business licenses or nonprofit licenses out to entities that exist to murder human beings? I don't understand this, and when I say that, I don't understand this. If you're going to have government, why can't government protect and defend a life? Protect and defend my liberty. Make sure that the laws are faithfully executed, but protect and defend life. Start with the Ten Commandments. Pretty simple stuff here. I'm not asking it to do a lot. Smaller amounts totaling around $111 million went to the International Planned Parenthood Federation, MSI Reproductive Choices, and 4 domestic regional organizations. Here's where it gets interesting, all right? Most of the funding was distributed and dispersed through the Department of Health and Human Services and the United States Agency for International Development, also known as USAID. Boom. So why is Jamie Raskin having a 4-year-old temper tantrum? Why is Schmuckle Schumer doing the same thing? Why are Jasmine Crocker and all of the rest of them out there literally losing their brain, their minds over this? They were funding the killing of human beings, soon to be born, precious babies, children of God, and they were doing it through USAID. So yes, when Elon says this was a lethal, President Trump said it yesterday. These people were these are lunatics. These are just lunatics. They're crazy lunatics. Nut jobs. He said nut jobs and lunatics in the same paragraph describing USAID. Most of the funding was disbursed by the department through USAID. Under the Hyde and Helms amendments, the caucus noted, federal funds were not to be used to pay for abortions directly, but the Hyde and Helms amendments limit funding for abortion providers, the group pointed out. Federal funding of abortion providers expands the reach and influence of abortion advocates, giving taxpayers a stamp of approval to the agenda of abortion advocates, the caucus said. The report showed that Planned Parenthood receiving as nearly $2 billion worth. That's a lot of babies, man. That's a lot of murder. You know, when I worked in Information Network Radio, which was to be the primary provider talk radio programs for the then soon to be launched Sirius satellite radio service. So I moved out to San Francisco, the city by the K. I moved out to San Francisco in 2000, in September of 2000. We were to launch in December of 2000. Whoever got the contract to do the decoding chips, there's two kind of chips. There's a encoder and there's a decoder. That's where you get the term codec from. Whoever got, I think I want to try to remember the name of the company. It'll come to me. In any event, the radios didn't work. But I was out there in San Francisco working for this Information Network radio company. And I remember this kind of talking about this kind of funding and this stuff, and it coming up in conversations back then. This is 25 years ago. Report showed that Planned Parenthood received nearly $2 billion worth of funds, several funding through Medicaid and Medicare disbursements, but also including grants and cooperative agreements. Long story short, basically, USAID was created probably for some noble purpose, and then like all things that get touched by leftards, it is turned into something nefarious, something evil, and something reprehensible. And then they move to defend it. Can you imagine living a life where you defend this stuff and where you promote this stuff? How do you sleep? Well, you must have made the Crossroads deal, and it doesn't matter to you because you know that of the four final things, you know what your ending is going to be. You signed your soul over to the devil. You made the deal. You agreed to it. Well, but look at all the money. Look at all the power. Look at all the fame. Everything that I got now. Yeah, but dude, you get to spend eternity in hell. I don't think it's going to turn out the way you think it is. And for the first time now, in anyone's life, it doesn't matter how old you are, for the first time now, the people that have been doing this and perpetrating this, like Maggie was saying earlier, are being told no. Your grift is up. There are members of Congress that are out there going, we're going to sue. We're going to go to court. You can't do this. We get to appropriate the money. You do, but the president gets to spend it. So Mrs. O'Connell was asking me this earlier, so I said, well, I'll just give you a crash course on this. What can Congress do to stop or to oppose a president? Well, they do have the power of the purse, so they could withhold any and all spending that they wanted to. There's simply no way you cannot compel a current Congress to be bound by a previous one and say that, no, this previous one acted, you have to spend money. That's why there are elections every 2 years. Important for all of you guys to understand. This is a little Civics 101 lesson here. Article 1, Section 4, I think, all bills, or Section 7, all bills for raising revenue originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate can concur. This is important to know. I think it is Section 7. Yeah, all bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives. Raskin's right about that. He does get to appropriate the money. You're right, you do. You don't get to spend it, though. So what can Congress do, constitutionally speaking, to oppose a president? They can impeach him, and they can override his veto. Well, they can also deny treaties that they don't have to vote in the affirmative for treaties that he may have negotiated. They don't have to confirm his choices for the courts or for cabinet secretaries. You could kind of say that they can oppose him that way, but he still gets to make the choice at the end of the day. So what are the two powers that they have? They can override his veto. There is no veto to be overridden here, so that one's out. And they can impeach him. Are they going to impeach him without having a majority over not spending money in foreign countries to murder babies? Well, I wouldn't say that they're not going to, but they're not going to do it this year, and they're not going to do it next year. So it's not going to happen until earliest in 2026. Don't think, though, that by some disaster, if they were able to win the House back in 2026, first thing they would do it would be to impeach him. Don't buy any of this line of, we're just trying to see that the government works like that. No, you're evil. You always have been. And now you're just going more and more evil. And now you're pissed evil because you're not getting your way. And you're really angry because he's telling you, not going to spend. We're not going to spend with stupid people who have been spending stupid money. It's just not going to happen any longer. So, just to wrap up the Civics 101 lesson, they can't make him spend money. No matter what anyone tells you, they can't compel him to execute a spending bill, an appropriation. They can't make him do it. There's simply nothing in the Constitution, and there's nothing in history or tradition that says that he has to. Now, let's just say that they were doing things the old-fashioned way, and every single expense came in as its own separate bill. Say he were to veto an act that came in and supposedly was going to, I don't know, was going to be used to bail whoever out. And he vetoed it. Well, he got back to Congress, and they overrode his veto. This is an interesting case in point here. If they overrode his veto, can they now make him write the check or authorize the check to be written? Because he has to do it. And authorize the spending. I don't think they can. They can override the veto, but they can't make him. Again, they have two powers. They can impeach and they can override his vetoes. That's the only, this idea, these members of Congress are running around going, he can't do that, we're going to do this. You can't. It's called separation of powers. It's there for a reason. Now they're going to say, we're going to get the judiciary. The judiciary should even be more powerless. Judiciary should have no authority whatsoever over the president unless he's truly in violation of an actual law. And then they have to hear the case, which has happened. You know, remember when, what was it? Who was the guy who was bin Laden's limo driver? What was that dude? I can't remember the guy. It was Hamdi? I think it was Hamdi versus Bush. And they basically tried to say, look, Bush was trying to do this. We said that he can't. and he did it anyway, and it went all the way to the court. I want to say that Bush lost. Rare, and that took years to go through the courts. So there's nothing Congress can do to force President Trump to spend a nickel. And it doesn't look like he's going to. But the best part about this is they got a media entity out there where you can read all about it in real time. Elon Musk is going like, oh, yeah, look what we had. Woo-hoo-hoo. I opened this folder and, oh, where do you get a load of this one? It doesn't matter. It's only 4% of spending. Dude, I will take that 4%. I will take it, and we will throw block parties to celebrate the fact that you don't get to spend that money, that grift, any longer. Now, there is serious business out there that needs to be done, and this is true. But isn't it fun just to watch them lose? Isn't there just some certain, like, just visceral, in your gut, you feel it's a kind of joy just knowing that these creatures of Moloch, Raskin and Schumer, and just name any of them, Durbin, Turbin, and all the rest of them, that they're losing and there's nothing that they can do? They are literally, no one can throw them a life preserver. Help, I'm trying to. To me, that's worth the price of admission. I go back and vote for Trump 100 more times just to witness that. At the end of the story here we're talking about the National Catholic Register story, which I could have gotten it from several different sources about where was money going to USAID and what were they spending it for? To kill babies. The figures come from healthcare funding data provided by the Government Accounting Office. On our website, Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn said on Tuesday that the government released the data after she and New Jersey Representative Chris Smith, along with dozens of other congressional members, filed a request for it in January of 2022. Members of Congress had to sue, basically had to apply to get data out of their own accounting office. Study itself was published in November and publicly released this week. It is appalling that big abortion providers are continuing to receive billions of dollars in federal taxpayer funding, Blackburn said on Tuesday, claiming that Planned Parenthood illegally siphoned over $90 million from the Paycheck Protection Program. Remember when we were talking about this? Remember? Back on the Mike Church Show in 2020, late 2020, or in early 2021 through the middle of 2022, remember that we were talking about the PPP? Well, they're going to get a bailout out there. Well, they did get a bailout. The payroll protection program, that billions, hundreds of billions of dollars were being paid to companies to protect their payroll, you see. Because the epidemic, I have to use either code language or proper language when this show is broadcast on certain media, because if I don't, I run the danger of getting flagged. In any event, for whatever it was that was allegedly, supposedly happening or was not happening, supposedly people couldn't go to work. Remember? You can't come into work. If you come into work, you're going to pick it up and then you're going to take it home and you're going to kill grandma. Remember the kill grandma scare? The kids couldn't go see grandma. The kids weren't allowed to go to the hospitals and what have you here. We told you that they were skimming billions right off the top of the PPP. And the first people to get in line were the evil people. Remember I told you I went through the process. Because when they first put it, you had to go apply for it. Now, I wasn't going to take the money. I just wanted to see what the process was. Of course, we got denied. And I did it within like the first 10 days when he had it up. And then we got to, and it took you hours to fill this thing out. And by the time you get to the end of the application, it goes, yeah, we just ran out of money. Yeah, we gave the last tranche to Planned Parenthood. Again, another program that was just run through Mordor and the Potomac River that just took hard-earned grift, wages that the American people earned were taken from them and were laundered through this monstrosity called the federal government of the United States, and then it was paid back out to the friends of Democrats and Republicans. And again, I was talking to David Simpson on Sunday, and I said, he told me, he goes, well, Mike, I'm really not plugged in. I don't really know what's going on. So I was filling him in a little bit, and he was saying, so he's actually like cutting this, cutting that. And I said, yeah, well, I mean, in the early going, it looks like it's happening. He said, but yeah, what's the long term? And are they actually going to scale it? Performing this show with half my testosterone tied behind my back just to make it fair. An oasis of Constitution, Catholicity, and common sense. In a sea of despondent, angry, malevolent, single, ugly cat ladies. You know, the best thing you could really say to them is, I just really don't care, Margaret. You want to watch their heads explode, just keep telling them you don't care. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at MyPillow.com/King Dude, MyPillow.com/King Dude. Of course, you and I will be celebrating St. Valentine's Day. But at MyPillow.com/King Dude, you'll just see Valentine's Day, and that's fine. 80% off. 80% off on many items there. MyPillow.com/King Dude. If you don't have a MyPillow, give one a try or 6 today. MyPillow.com/King Dude. Don't forget the My Slippers, My Towels, My Toppers. So many different things. Most of them made in their plant in Minnesota there by Americans or Minnesotans. That's MyPillow.com/King Dude. Lots of digital media files here today to get you lots of sound bites to roll the audio on. I was surprised, Sergeant Carter, at just how well received the conversation was. Is she talking about RFK Jr.?
The closed session, I decided to vote that I will vote for her. I believe she's committed to strengthening our national security.
RFK Jr. vote, if we can get it in the committee, it's supposed to come out of the committee today. The key vote is apparently going to be the stooge that represents me in the Senate, Bill Cassidy. What a piece of work this guy is. He's going to get a poll. By the way, you're not going to have to primary Cassidy because he's already getting primaried by Louisiana State Secretary of the Treasury, John Fleming. Yeah, Fleming's going to is going to run against Cassidy. And Fleming's already out campaigning. It's in any event, a letter was sent from the Louisiana Speaker of the Louisiana House legislature, John, let me see, I got it on my Twitter. I thanked him for doing it. Actually sent a letter to to Bill Cassidy and informing him that, look, the people of Louisiana overwhelmingly voted for MAGA, for MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, and for President Trump and for his nominees. Our country is at an inflection point. Louisiana and the United States overwhelmingly elected President Trump to make a course correction and change the disastrous trajectory we're on. America spoke loudly and in unison last November, and she deserves to have President Trump's nominees be confirmed because Mr. Trump's nominee is the American voters' nominee. And he sent this. This is the office of Jack J. Lee, so representing district number 104 in the Louisiana House, and encouraging him to vote for Trump's nominees, but in specific, he asked him to vote for RFK Jr. I think that, to me, this is the linchpin. HHS is the biggest entity on earth. It is the largest hulking behemoth on earth, and it needs to be gutted. It needs to stop doing most of what it's doing. It needs to stop giving permission slips to bad people to continue doing what they're doing. And the only man out there that I think is capable of doing this, that knows where the bodies are buried or to be buried, is Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. This is why his entire family is writing letters out there denouncing him and saying he's kicked out of the family, he's been cut off of the family fortune, he doesn't get this. He's got his own money. He doesn't care. But the fact that there is this opposition from what you and I know are to be just the most evil, rotten people on earth should tell you that there is something afoot here, something good that is afoot here. I fully expect that if he were to not get out of that committee and not get to a floor vote, that Trump is going to take the nuclear option. He's not going to be denied on RFK Jr. And he's going to tell John Thune, if you want anything from me for the next 2 years, then you're going to go into recess and you're going to get RFK Jr. through. We'll do it as a recess appointment. That gives us 2 years. So this is the gambit that's being played here. I don't think it should come to this. And again, with the advising consent of the Senate, who amongst the Democrat Party is doing any advising and consenting? What about Fetterman? No, Fetterman is not. No, he's not. Let's talk about what happened yesterday. I want to talk about laying the tariff hammer down. By the way, you could say that to the president of Canada, Justin Trudeau, and the president of Mexico, once again, Don John of Mar-a-Lago rickrolled them. It's a rickroll update. You're not getting it. You're not doing. You're going to do what I told you. I got you here to this meeting.
We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. I've still commitments while I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy.
Everybody say.
I just want to tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you.
It's a rickroll update. So we got the president of Mexico on a phone call. The tariff's getting in, but I already signed the order. Madam President, would you? I'm listening, even though I said I wasn't. I'm listening. Those of you that don't know what a rickroll is, this is when you set someone up for some great event thing, and then you pull the rug out from under them. This is what's called a rickroll.
Run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye.
All right, Maggie, play digital media file number 1. This is Doug Ford. Yeah, well, we're not all about it there, eh? You can blame Canada all you want there, eh? We're not going to buy your bourbon anymore there, eh? We're not going to buy, we don't need anything of the Americans to put on our shelves there, eh? I say, Elon, you're done, like, eh? No more Starlink up in Canada there, eh?
Tomorrow, the LCBO, which sells nearly $1 billion worth of American beer, wine, spirits, and seltzers every year,
$1 billion?
will remove all U.S. products from its shelves and wholesale catalog.
Whatever, dude.
Starting today and until U.S. tariffs are removed, Ontario is banning American companies from provincial contracts. Every year, the Ontario government and its agencies spend $30 billion in procurement, alongside our $200 billion plan to build Ontario. And I'm urging all 444 municipalities to do the same. U.S.-based businesses will now lose out on tens of billions of dollars in new revenues. They only have President Trump to blame. We've
What are
gone
you, a
one step
Democrat?
further. We'll be ripping up our contract with Elon
Pull that fat
Musk's
suit off. There's
Starlink.
Schumer is under there.
Ontario won't do business with people hell-bent on destroying our economy. Friends, there's no sugarcoating it. The coming days and weeks will be incredibly difficult. Trump's tariffs are going to devastate our economy. These tariffs will put up to 450,000 jobs at risk from every sector in every region. No one will be immune. Everyone will feel the impact.
This guy obviously doesn't know how trade works. We're gonna yank 200. You don't have $200 billion, fat boy. You do not have $200 billion of American goods. As a matter of fact, I have listeners that live in Ontario, and I can't ship them a bag of coffee. Do you know why? Because you won't allow it. I can't get it through customs. It costs more to go through customs, pay your tariff, and ship my coffee to them than it's worth doing. And so no one buys from us. We're going to cut off $1 billion. That must just be like mercy sales. Because American seltzer companies also got to pay tariffs on stuff that they sell to Canada. This is desperation time. I love it. Our economy is going to... Well, you know what? For the first time in all of our adult lives, we finally have a leader, a president, that says, you know what? You can cry rivers up there. You can play the weepy violin music all you want. You can cry rivers up there. We are going to care for our people. Enough. The United States has been the world's sugar daddy. And we want out. We are not yo pimp anymore. We are not just turn the spigot on and all the money flows out and everyone in the world gets fat, happy, and rich, except Americans. You know, I genuinely do not believe that most of the American people give a rat's furry behind about what people in Mexico or in Canada think about us. You know, I saw yesterday on Twitter one of the Canadians that we kind of know. We know him a little bit. Kennedy Hall was whining into his little tiny violin about, you guys, you can't do that. We're your buddies. I thought you were this and that and the other. You Americans celebrating Elon and... Dude, cry a river. In the same manner that Americans don't need you, Canadians, you Canadians don't need us. You got natural resources galore. You got your own fuel. You got your own wood. You can pretty much, almost you can grow anything. You can't grow some tropical stuff, obviously. Although there are places in Canada where there are outlier places where you can grow stuff. You really don't need us. The fact of the matter is you've gotten used to us supposedly needing you. It's time for a divorce.
He talks about removing contracts for all U.S. companies and all that kind of stuff, and then talks about how it's going to be detrimental to their labor force. Why not hire people from Canada to do those jobs?
Well, Maggie, that's exactly right. What do you need Americans? Why do Americans need a Canadian contracts? Look, S. Parker in the chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat. By the way, I can't make talk radio and chat rooms great again without people chatting in the rooms. So, crusadechannel.com/chat. And on the YouTube, you can chat as well. You can chat if you're listening to it on the Facebook stream. But you should come to our chat room, crusadechannel.com/chat. You need to be a Founders Pass member. Sign up today, $5 a month. That's all we ask. $5 to get you in. That's crusadechannel.com/offer. That's /offer. Yeah, Ammo Matt saying largest export to Canada is autos. Pretty sure they can build them. Yeah, well, of course they can build them. They build our cars. You know, you can do this. I'm sure you can Google search this. You can go look at the VIN number on your car if it's made in the last 20 years. Somebody might claim, oh, this was an American-made. Okay, fine. You can go look at the VIN number, and I want to say it's in the first 4 digits, the first 4 characters of the VIN number of your vehicle will tell you the country of origin. Now, I forget what the code is, but you can find out whether or not you're driving a car that was made in Canada. But I think that this is the time. As a matter of fact, Elon Musk's tweet on this. Maggie, do you have the one? I know I can find it, but it'll take me a day. The one where he says, Doge is doing what President Trump told you Doge was going to do. He's even gone after Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is very upset about how Trump is dismantling USAID, which we're going to get to in a moment. Elon says she's a major grifter and hates America. But Elon had a tweet out there that's saying that Doge needs the American people to stand with us. We're not doing this for us. We're doing this for you. This is the one unique opportunity. That's the one, Maggie, right there. Can you just send me that link or pop it in the chat room and I can read it from there. This is the one unique opportunity that we have, and we can actually get this done. There's going to be howling. There's going to be gnashing of teeth. They're going to be screaming out there. But in the end, it can actually get done. And this is the only way you're going to get it done. By the way, if you want to monitor what Doge is, I saw someone in the chat room going like, there's no transparency here. What is he doing? It's completely and totally transparent. It's the most transparent thing you're ever going to see. Go to x.com/DOGE. Everything, what is Elon called? The Nerd Army? Elon's Nerd Army. The Nerd Army, everything the Nerd Army is doing is published. Now, cue up, I was getting ready to ask for number 10. Here, Elon, hysterical reactions like this is how you know that Doge is doing work that really matters. This is the one shot the American people have to defeat bureaucracy, rule of the bureaucrats, and restore democracy. Rule of the people. We're never going to get another chance like this. It's now or never. Your support is crucial to the success of the revolution of the people. This is in response to Schmuckle Schumer saying, an unelected shadow government is conducting a hostile takeover. The federal government. It's now a hostile. They're even talking in Trump's terms. Hostile takeover. Doge is not a real government agency. You're right. It's not. Doge has no authority to make spending decisions. He's sending them to the White House. The White House is making the cuts, the rescissions. Elon's not doing a thing. By the way, the State Department is getting in on this. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State's going like, I'm the one that's taking the lead on this, fella. You can throw all of your little arrows at me, and we're not funding USAID anymore. It's over. Oh, folks, they are so mad, and it's so glorious. Here's Trump talking about Elon yesterday in the Oval Office. By the by, President Trump, in 2 weeks, in 2 days, 2 weeks and 1 day, he's already said more publicly about his administration and about what they're doing to the press than the Biden regime did in 4 years. He invites that press pool into the Oval Office. Stephen Miller or whoever goes and says, okay, Mr. President, here's this executive. And what is this one? What am I signing here? Oh, that's a good one, huh? And he'll look at like yesterday, he looked at Scott Bassett and he went, that's a big one, huh? It's a good one, right? And then he'll sign it and someone will ask him a question and then he'll stop and he'll go, no, that's no. Here's what's actually happened, as he did when he was asked a question about Elon yesterday. Here's the answer. You want to hear what Elon's doing? This is what he's doing.
President, why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him, and it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs, and we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. Some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. $100 million on condoms to Hamas. condoms to Hamas. And many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous. And they're finding tremendous waste, really waste, more than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse could be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. But they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending. You've been writing about some of it, frankly, and some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed because he's running, obviously, a big company. It has nothing to do if there's a conflict that we won't let him get near it. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it. But he has some very good ideas, and we have a lot of very other talented people also. We're bringing in the most talented people in the world.
By the way, you're bringing in people that are talented in the real world. They're not talented in politics. They're talented in the real world, which is a big difference. And people need to understand, you're not talking about people that are being promoted from inside the bureaucracy. They owe the bureaucracy their McMansion. They're not going to do anything to jeopardize themselves. Elon and the nerd army will. Why the next one? Next, he's asked a question, well, as he's rickrolling Canada, as he rickrolled Mexico this morning, for my afternoon workout, I'm really thinking a lot about this. I'm going to talk to Canada. We have a 3 p.m. phone call. I'm going to talk to Canada, but they're bad. It's a bad deal. We're getting $100 million for condoms. Condoms for Hamas. Here he is. He Rick rolls Mexico in the morning. For lunch, he Rick rolls Panama. And now for an afternoon snack, he's going to Rick roll Trudeau.
What I'd like to see Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. They could do it very easily. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. So I say, why are we willing to lose between $100 billion and $200 billion a year? We don't need them.
Why are we willing to use, if you start adding up all these trade deficits, it's over $1 trillion. It's well over $1 trillion. That's real money. How much manufacturing can you repatriate for $1 trillion a year? That's an awful lot of manufacturing capability. I was talking about this yesterday, and I scratched the surface of it. How many of you wear, I used to work in the T-shirt, the screen printing business. Back in the 1980s, the best T-shirts that you could get were Hanes Beefy Tees, and then Fruit of the Loom came out with a 100% ring-spun, 100% cotton tee, which was a close competitor. Now, I'm going to tell you what happened when we come back and why this matters. This show is a healthy dose of conservative Ozempic to help you lose the crushing weight of white and MAGA guilt and help make America great again. Reclaim your philosophy critical thinking skills. Unplug the matrix cable from the back of your head. Claim those skills become members of the self-governing and wealthy people of these United States. Somebody making the point here as we continue to talk about tariffs and free trade and try to boil these things down so they make sense to average people. If you give $1 trillion away a year and you divvy it up and you shower it to the rest of the world, in trade deficit. That is $1 trillion of wealth that belongs to the American people. We're just trying to give you an overview of how you can look at this and so it will make sense. If you have a trade deficit, you are now subsidizing someone else, another country. Your wealth, our wealth, is being exported to them. Now, the Wall Street Journal neocon leftard socialist argument is, no, that's not the way it works at all. Their boats are rising. The rising tide is lifting all boats in the third world. I don't care. They need to lift their own boats up. It's not my job, and I am under no obligation, no charitable obligation to lift their boats up. By the way, their boats are only lifted for the benefit of oligarchs and brutal dictators that run these tin-horn dictatorship poop holes in the third world. Those people don't get those benefits. Someone that's knitting your shirt in Vietnam is not living a very good life. Someone that's knitting your shirt in Sri Lanka is not living the kind of lifestyle that you are because he doesn't own anything. So stop with this. The same thing with someone in Mexico or Canada. Stop with this nonsense about, no, it puts Americans out of work. That's just what it does. You are exporting wealth. Now let's talk about T-shirts. Everyone can understand T-shirts. I have one on right now. Back in the 1980s, when I was in the screen printing business, and screen printing was starting to take off, and imprinted sportswear goods were it was a great industry to be in. It was a very exciting time because lots of people were going, oh, I can get custom made. Yeah, you can get your baseball team or this slogan or whatever. It really started in the late 60s, but it took off in the early 80s. I was there. I did it. I have an associate's degree in commercial art, by the way. Customers would come in and they would say, what do you recommend for a shirt? Now, it used to be that most people would wear what were called 50-50, 50% cotton, 50% poly. But the Hanes Corporation started making a T-shirt called the Beefy Tee. The Beefy Tee revolutionized screen printing. Everybody wanted, and it was a great, again, names matter. The language matters. They changed the language, and they made T-shirts synonymous with Beefy Tee. And everybody wanted a Hanes 100% cotton, American-made Beefy Tee. Do you know where they made the Hanes Beefy Tee? They made them right there in Tennessee and Kentucky. And it would come in, like it started off with 12 different colors, and then it was 15, and then 20, and then you get long sleeves. And then the Fruit of the Loom Corporation said, hey, what's with this 100% cotton thing? And then they wanted to get into the game, and they did, and they made 100% cotton. And then another company called Jerseys, which is out of Alabama. I'm trying to remember the name of the town. All of these T-shirts were being manufactured in the United States. What a great thing. And then there were smaller companies that came along. There's one that's still out there that we used. It's called Gildan. And then NAFTA. NAFTA. You know what happened after NAFTA? Hanes, Fruit of the Loom, and Gildan was the last holdout. All shipped their T-shirt manufacturing to Central and Latin America. It's gone. It's not here anymore. It says that they're an American company, but they're using second world cut rate labor so that they didn't have to pay Americans to make the Beefy Tee anymore. This is a true story. And I'm telling you this story because I can tell it to you off the top of my head because I watched it happen. And there were many people in the screen print industry that pleaded with Hank, don't do it. Please, don't. We have to. And they said they had to be competitive. Once one leaves, they all got to go. So all of your 100% cotton T-shirts are now not made in the United States any longer. hopefully by the end of President Trump's first 2 years or so, those textile manufacturers will start to come back. Yeah, but then a beefy tee is going to cost $6 after it works itself out, and after the American people are rehired for those good paying, good manufacturing, stable jobs. It all works itself out for your benefit, for the customer's benefit. You don't have to clog the shipping lanes up with these ginormous cargo ships. That's just one industry where tens of thousands of people were disemployed so that 100% cotton T-shirts could be made somewhere outside the United States. And as I said, if you're in an industry, once one of them does it, then you can rest assured they're all going to have to do it because they can't compete. You just can't compete. They did this with the steel mills. Once one steel mill went, I can make it in China. And I can use labor that costs 1/5 of what it costs here. Yeah, I got to ship it back, but so I'm still making bank. Once one steel company did it, they all did it. Now they're all gone. Once one textile company, remember in the book Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, the man in the Brooks Brothers shirt. You know, where are Brooks Brothers shirts made at today? To tell you the truth, I don't know. They were probably made somewhere in the U.S. There are no textile. There's hardly any textile mills that are left here. Just like trying to find a pair of sneakers or shoes that are made in the U.S. Almost everything's made in China. Well, you know, back in the day when Phil Knight started Nike, Nike was having most of its shoes were made in Washington State. The first set of Air Jordans were made right at the Nike factory in Washington State. And now they're all sewn together in China. When is the shoe business? All of these things need to be undone. They were all done. Nobody voted for this. No one said yes to this. They just did it. You know, and then you see the destruction of the family life, you know, the instability that is kind of baked into that kind of creeps into the marketplace now. Well, of course, there are a lot of young people now that feel like they're not stable and they have a little trepidation or fear in starting a family. Can you blame them? Onshoring and repatriating manufacturing goes a long way towards solving, not all of it, because some of it's moral, but solving some of that issue. Play the next one. Where's Mark over there? Play the lunatics that are losing their minds. Play Raskin outside of the USAID building. Well, you can start with him and go, we want to thank all of you USAID employees for what? Squandering $2 billion a year? Wait, what are you thanking them for? Killing babies in the third world? By the way, all of you watching on the YouTube channel, we actually lost subscribers yesterday. I don't even know how that's possible. To a 3-hour award-winning, top-of-the-line, greatest free television and radio broadcast on Earth, and people unsubscribe from the channel. Yeah, that's not going to work for us. So whoever you are that unsubscribed yesterday, you need to undo the dastardly evil deed that you did. And then about 20 other people need to go and then tap that subscribe button down there. It really does matter. The YouTube algorithm's going like, oh, hey, look at all these people that listen and subscribe. They must really like this guy's channel. Let's throw some more people his way. That's how it works. You don't subscribe, you leave us floundering about. So, and then people tell me everything, like, Mike, there's a guy that I watch. He's got like 500,000 subscribers. He can't even do a half an hour live. So, I think we're worth your time. For extra credit, tap the bell, and you'll get notified when we go live. Like, we did a premiere this morning of a little short video that we put together right before the show started. You would have been notified of that. So thank you for subscribing in advance. Maggie, play Digital Media Phone. We'll start with number 3.
To all the employees at USAID, thank you, thank you, thank you.
For what?
You keep America safe. and you help people all around the world.
You keep America safe?
I want to say I'm sorry that you have to put up with this offensive bullshit coming out of this White House.
It's a word that's becoming very popular these days. BS. Please note for those of you that have children that are listening, most of these we find and we scrub and we cut out. But it happens every now and then. All right, here's the big... By the way, how does someone that's killing babies in the third world, how was that keeping the American people safe? From what? How is giving condoms to Hamas keeping the American people safe? Well, here's Marco Rubio talking about this yesterday.
No agency of government can tell us what to do. So the president made me the acting administrator. I've delegated that power to someone who's there full time, and we're going to go through the same process at USAID as we're going through now at the State Department. I think there are this is not about getting rid of foreign aid. There are things that we do through USAID that we should continue to do. That makes sense. And we'll have to decide, is that better through the State Department or is that better through something, a reformed USAID? That's the process we're working through. There are things that are happening at USAID that we should not be involved in funding or that we have a lot of questions about, but they're completely uncooperative. So we had no choice but to take dramatic steps to bring this thing under control.
That these people seem like they own the agency. USAID went, no, we're not going to open our books up. We're not going to tell you where you're spending your money. This racket, folks, this racket. All right, play. You want to hear the granddaddy of them all? Ladies and gentlemen, I must disclaim this. You cannot possibly be prepared for what you are about to hear.
Elon Musk. Elon Musk, you didn't create U.S. aid. The United States Congress did for the American people.
No, it didn't.
And just like Elon Musk did not create U.S. aid, he doesn't have the power to destroy it. And who's going to stop him? We are. We're going to stop him.
Grandstand all you want, pal.
Elon Musk, you may have illegally seized power over the financial payment systems of the United States Department of Treasury, but you don't control the money of the American people. The United States Congress does that. Under Article 1 of the Constitution.
You hearing this?
And just like the president who is elected to something cannot impound the money of the people, we don't have a fourth branch of government called Elon Musk. And that's going to become real clear.
We're going to beat you up. How's it going to become clear?
This illegal, unconstitutional interference with congressional power is threatening lives all over the world. I'm hearing from my constituents who work for USAID and USAID contractors in Maryland, in Washington, all over the world, and they're telling us that this is a killer in terms of their cutoff of HIV and AIDS preemption. It's a killer in terms of anti-malarial education. It's a killer in terms of all of the efforts to shut down global viruses.
Now we're killing people.
I don't know what Elon Musk's intentions are. I don't know what Elon Musk's motivations are. I don't know what his purposes are, but they've got nothing to do with what has been lawfully adopted by the people of the United States of America through the Congress of the United States. We're going to defend U.S. aid.
All right, enough of this guy. Hey, Jamie, why do you have satellite offices in the States? And what in dude's name are they doing? We've already heard that there are offices in the States. Let me let all of you in on a secret. So I looked this up on your behalf so you wouldn't have to. How did USAID come about? Well, if you go and X Google, you could go as Yahoo, whatever search engine you want, you will find out that it was created by an executive order by John Fitzgerald Kennedy. In 1961, President Kennedy signed the Foreign Assistance Act into law and created USAID by executive order. Once USAID got to work, international development assistance opportunities grew tremendously. In other words, opportunities to fleece the American people through USAID grew exponentially. Gee, I wonder how that happened. The time during the Kennedy and Johnson administrations became known as the Decade of Development. So this is where they set up the network here to distribute all of your money to the rest of the world under the guise of the American government acting as a charitable organization. We have charities. They're called nonprofits. Truth be known, at the end of the day, it's the church and the Christians that should be doing the charitable work, not government. And if there are people that are suffering from HIV or AIDS around the world, well, then maybe there's another way to treat that, but why do I have to pay for it? Why does she have to pay for it? Why is it incumbent upon the American people to pay for this? This is insanity here. But you heard him say, this is our money. It's our money, and we get to determine, and there's no act that Donald Trump can perform that can bring that to an end. It's a Congress's duty. It's almost as though you listen to a deranged psychopath like Jamie Raskin of Maryland, or Florida rather, and you might start to think, this dude seems to think that everything that you earn, it is a privilege for you to earn it in his America, and it is a privilege for him to allow you to keep a small portion of it. Oh, yeah, look, we're going to let you guys keep just a little bit of it. Sounds to me like they want a red economy.
In the town where I was born lived a man we called Bonnie, and he told us all his lies from the land of Pelosi. So we bailed our banks for fun, 'cause we found a sea of green.
Oh, you found a sea of green, all right.
The more you give, the more we take in our red economy.
Everybody.
We all love Obama's red economy. His red economy. Red economy. We all love Obama's red economy. His red economy. His red economy. And our friends are from Acorn. Then there's Wall Street libs from New York. With your cash, we love to play.
Say we want to play bankers, we want to pay core makers, and we really want to pay with pages.
We all love Obama's red economy. His red economy. His red economy. His red economy. We all love Obama's red economy. His red economy. His red
Mike Church Show Band.
Is the most serious
2011
financial crisis since the Great Depression.
Full speed ahead, Queen Frank! More worthless paper! Print more worthless paper! Hey, Queen, aye!
I screwed up.
500 million.
If everybody was just inflating their tires.
like we're commies. Every liberal has all she needs. All states are blue, taxpayers scream. In our commie red economy, we all.
It literally does seem as though if you listen to them, this is our money. We get to spend it. I was reading something from Jack Kennedy's book, Profiles in Courage. I was reading the introductory chapter that JFK wrote, and he gave 3 quotes, and he goes, okay, see if you can guess which century each one of the quotes came from. And you start thinking like, well, the senators back in the day, they were high and mighty and distinguished gentlemen of high accomplishment and learning and what have you here. Because the further down the page you get, the more caustic, shall we say, became the rhetoric. Well, Kennedy springs a rickroll on you to tell you, like, well, the one at the top of the page is from this century, the one in the middle of the page is from the 19th century, and the one at the end of the page is from the 18th century. I think that some of this stuff is just baked into this thing that we have called the federal government. I think that the founders did everything that they could do to try and set us on a course for prosperity and long-term peace. And I don't think there's any way you can possibly look 250 years into the future and go like, well, we're going to give them the method to do it. So they did a pretty decent job. Not a perfect job, but a decent job. The evidence of their flaws and their failing is all around. The existence of Doge, you can lay that. You can't say that that's the founders' fault, but you kind of can. You can also say that, okay, well, where were our foreparents? Where was Grandpa at when this was going on? Where was Dad at when this was happening? So what is being done right now, and look, they're trying to sugarcoat this as much as they can, with Marco Rubio going, well, I think that there are some things that USAID can actually do. They should do. I don't think it should do anything, Senator Rubio, Secretary Rubio. I think you should disband, and I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to disband it, and they're going to absorb it into the State Department. Why absorb it at all? The United States State Department exists to represent Mike Church, the Mike Church Show, and Mike Church Show listeners everywhere else in the world. That's what it exists to do. It exists to make sure that my passport works at Heathrow. It exists to make sure that the relationship between the United States and whatever foreign government, that relationship is to my benefit, the citizens' benefit. It does not matter what the other country wants, and they want you. They want your money, they want my money, they want your prestige, they want my prestige. They want to be or to continue being parasites. And we have a president that should be encouraged, Mr. President, you're not going far enough. Cut all the parasites in the world off. All of them. They're all cut off. USAID every single last stinking one of those tapeworms and let them fend for themselves. And if it comes down to it, well, they might come over here and try to let them. We got 750 million firearms in our possession. By the way, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida just dropped a nice early Christmas present into the lap of all you Floridians. From Memorial Day to July 4th, you can buy all the guns and ammo you want in Florida. 100% sales tax-free. That just happened. So I quite frankly am tired of being lectured by members of Congress of the wonders of them giving my fortune and my children's fortune away to people in other countries around the world that I can't even find on a map. And I think most of you are with me, and you don't care either, and you want it to come to an end. They don't do it for us. No one in Guam is sending checks to people here in Madisonville. So let's bring it all to an end and be done with it. All aboard is coming aboard the freight train of truth. It's leaving MAGA station. The Mike Church Show is on here on the Crusade Radio Network. Asking you to take 8 weeks of daily doses of the Founding Fathers Red Pill, sprinkled with a few drops of holy water, unplug the matrix cable from the back of your head, claim your philosophy, put in his thinking skills, become members of these self-governing people of these United States. Not a job, it's a way of life. down. This portion of the program is brought to you by the Founders Pass membership service. You can sign up and become a Founders Pass member, gain access to our troll-free chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat. This is the chat room unlike any other. It is a vibrant, growing, very generous community of people that have been hanging out in there for almost a decade now. So if you want to chat with and somewhere, like it's like Cheers, where everybody knows your name, well, $5 a month, we threw in the chat room with premium listening privileges. And it costs $5 a month. That's it. If you want the podcast, and I got an email from a lady wrote me on Substack. She went, okay, TKD, long-time listener, been away for a while. The previews are killing me. I need the show, but I'm not up in the morning. How can I get it? Easy peasy, Albie. Become a Founders Pass member. We replay this show 3 times a day, noon, 4, and 8. So if you miss it and you'll want to listen to it through the app, which is the easiest way to do it, crusadechannel.com/app. Then do that, or on the site. But $5 will get you in the door. Now, if you want the podcast, it's going to cost a little bit more. You become a basic member. Same URL, crusadechannel.com/offer. That's crusadechannel.com/offer. And then if you want the video replays, you know, we're taping the video now, and all 3 hours, all 6 segments are now being uploaded every single day. They're right there on the Crusade Channel website for you to, if you're a video or higher level, which means you're a founding brother. You can upgrade today at crusadechannel.com/offer. And thank you all in advance. That reminds me, I was getting maybe I'll read it by the end of the program. I received an email, kingdude@mikechurch.com. from a gentleman who is in a quandary and wants to know if all of you can help. I'll share it with you at the end of the program here today. But before we do that, what else do we have on the... Oh, here. Let's have some more USAID follies, shall we? Ilhan Omar. How does Ilhan Omar even in the Congress? Supposedly there's a citizenship requirement. How did she meet it? In any event, the existence of someone like Ilhan Omar, you know, Trump's out there talking about making Canada the 51st state. How about we make Canada the 50th state and let Minnesota join the UK or something? What do we get out of Minnesota being in the Union any longer? Yeah, you could ditto. You could say this for many other states. I was talking at the end of the last segment. My friend David Simpson, he goes, Mike, do you really think that Trump can pull this off and that the thing can be scaled down? And I said, I don't know, but if there is ever going to be an attempt to do it, it's happening right now. So we're going to find out. And then what happens if it doesn't get scaled down? I said, well, then my argument and your argument and Bob Kopka, secede. Argument then comes into play. But then again, you have legislators that are drunk on Medicare and Medicaid funds, and they don't want to give it up. Don't kid yourself. Aged boomers are not going to swear off Social Security and Medicare. Well, to be fair, it was promised to them, so they probably shouldn't have to. But this thing is a lot larger than what Doge is doing. I'll give you an example. Somebody is asking me in the chat room, well, Mr. Smarty Pants, how is all this going to happen with the Impoundment Control Act? Doesn't Trump have to defeat the Impoundment Control Act in order to keep these spending cuts up? Because they say he can't do it. Well, I have not read the Impoundment Act and Rescission Act of 1974. It's basically where you get this thing called baseline budgeting from, which is what I think they're talking about when they say he has to spend all the money. Remember Junk Bond coming in one day and saying that, Mr. Church, you don't understand. If the Pentagon has appropriated money It doesn't matter what it's going to be spent on, but they have to spend it. If they don't, they leave any in the bank, then they're going to supposedly cut that from the next year. I think that this is how this should work, and I do not believe that an act of Congress can change the plain language of the Constitution. So to answer your question about the Impoundment Act, I think it applies to the appropriation process of the Congress. I don't see how the Impoundment Act, an act of Congress, can, what's the word? Not edit. Edit or change the plain language of Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, just as Article 1 plain language can't be changed other than by an amendment. Alter is the word. I don't see how Article 2 can be altered. There's nothing in Article 2 that says that the president, in executing the laws faithfully, has to spend money from reckless, drunken sailors in Congress just because they appropriated it. Now, it may be that a court may tell him that he has to. And again, this would be the Article 3 judiciary saying to the Article 2 executive, we rule you. But he is the chief law enforcement officer in the land. The supremacy clause pretty much applies to his enforcement power. So again, you're talking constitutional crisis. I don't know how that's going to get adjudicated. You could get a different answer, I'm sure, from Jonathan Turley of Fox News or Kevin Gutzman or Tom Woods or Randy Burnett or any of the other constitutional scholars and geniuses that I worked with all over the years. At the end of the day, though, I don't think they can make him. Just imagine a lower court judge telling the President of the United States in a decision, you have to do X. How is the judge going to enforce? Like Andrew Jackson once said, supposedly said, well, Judge Marshall has made his ruling, now let him enforce it. How's he going to enforce it? I don't see where the enforcement mechanism is. Then again, I don't know that Trump is going to go that far. He may have to, though. All right, play just a little bit of Ilhan Omar. I don't want to hear much because it drives me bonkers to know that this woman is even in Congress.
It is really, really a sad day in America. We are witnessing a constitutional crisis.
What would you know about the Constitution?
Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one. And here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like.
Oh, is it?
When you gut the Constitution.
All right, enough.
And you...
That's it. Cut it off. That's it. Can't take any more. I am not going to be lectured by a Somalian on my Constitution. Go back to your own country, write your own Constitution, and make Somalia great again. Otherwise, get the hell out of mine. No one wants you here anymore. You know what? Without us playing those sound bites, we completely and totally defang those people. They are only empowered by us playing them. They have no force. They can't do anything. There's nothing her and Raskin and that gang of criminals can do. They're not in the majority. Oh, you want to hear the weepiest of all the weepiest. Van Jones. Right now, Trump is killing AIDS patients all over the world. You know, they tried to do this to Ronald Reagan. They tried to blame Reagan for killing AIDS patients. Reagan doesn't care about AIDS. I always thought back in the 80s, I'm like, well, why should he? The AIDS crisis, AIDS epidemic was brought about by the most reckless, disgusting, vile, by using free will, human behavior imaginable for men to participate in. And then the result of it is this horrid disease or whatever AIDS was or whatever. And they were demanding, you have to divorce you. No, I don't. You did things that no human ever should do. And now you want all of us to cry rivers for you? And then you want to blame President Reagan as if he had something? He didn't tell you to go into that brothel, and that all-male brothel in San Francisco, that bathhouse or whatever the heck they call it. He didn't tell you to do that. You did that. In any event, by the way, there was always a difference between AIDS, AIDS, and HIV. AIDS, again, most of your people in media don't even know the terminology. AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, whatever the heck that means. HIV, human immunovirus, supposedly, basically an autoimmune disorder that makes you not be able to produce antibodies. So, like most people don't die from AIDS, they die from pneumonia that they get while they are supposedly suffering from the acquired immune deficiency syndrome. But again, this is something that's attacking their immune system. Well, how do you get it? From attacking your systems. Your natural systems function a certain way, and you're going to go like, oh, well, that plumbing wasn't meant to do that, but I'm going to make it do it anyway. Well, the price you're going to pay is AIDS. So anyways, here's Van Jones blaming now Trump for starving for cure all of the HIV and AIDS patients throughout the world that apparently all of us signed up to care for.
We can brag on Marco Rubio. I'd be happy to do it, but I'm going to tell you right now, people are going to die in very large numbers around the world who are expecting the United States to live up to our promises to get them medicine, to get them help. And when that happens, people are going to remember that. There are people right now who have HIV who are alive only because the United States is making sure of that. Donald Trump says, we don't care. You go die. That's the message from the United States government. It is the wrong message to be sending, and it opens up the door for China and other people to say, at least we're a stable government who's not going to leave you out here to die. That's this is not an abstract conversation for people around the world.
To people, in other words, we bail out and fund all of the lazy, for whatever reason or purpose, people that don't or that aren't blessed with the wealth that we have around the world. You know, we can do that, but we can do that through charities. If it needs to be done, well, then we ought to have Christian missionaries that are signing up to do the work. It is not the job of government to do it. And it is certainly not my job. And don't you dare try to guilt trip me. You know what? There are women right now suffering right here in the United States who are being told that they shouldn't be pregnant and that they shouldn't be mothers. You want to spend some USAID money? Find a women's pregnancy crisis center. But again, all of that is basically funded by who? Charitable Christian Americans. Either we're going to have a Christian country again, and if charity is needed, then the American people, through our churches or our lay organizations, are going to do it, or government is going to do it. I think you ought to have just 100% split. Either you return it back to the people where it ought to be, and nothing in the Constitution says that AIDS has to be defeated or battled by the American government, or you take it over. And if you take it over, you're going to Sovietize it and Canadianize it, and you're going to kill it. More people are going to die as a result of bureaucrats trying to do things. You know, the Congress, this idea Congress needs, we got to get in there and Congress has to take back over. Congress can't even run a cafeteria. Do you know that in 1993, Congress decided it was going to run its own cafeteria in the Capitol building? They took it over. And it wasn't 6 months in, they were like, all right, we quit. It's a lot harder to run a cafeteria than we thought. They thought that they were going to make money on the House cafeteria and that they were going to slush fund it basically and divvy it up among Democrats.
They wouldn't pay the bills. The congressman would go in and set up a tab and
Yeah, they set tabs up. They had the house bank. They can't run anything. These people are incapable of running things. So we shouldn't give them things to run unless it's absolutely necessary. Joy Pullman has this at the Federalist. And you know what? Play digital media file number 8. Here, Van Jones. Here's where your money from USAID is actually going. Caroline Levitt, Trump spokesman.
Through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
This is completely and totally a farce. You know what? You think about this. Think about a Doge nerd. Remember when nerds used to make movies, Revenge of the Nerds? No, the Revenge of the Nerd movies were awesome. Well, nerds are working at Starlink, at SpaceX, and they were working at X, and apparently now they're working at Doge. Imagine you're a Doge nerd, and you know how to execute lines of code and stuff. And then Boss Elon says, we have access to their servers. Go ahead and find anything that looks suspect. And then print it out on a spreadsheet. So Elon goes and goes, just do queries. Do a query. You know, most government agencies spend money by code. 3-letter, 4-letter code. Just start doing queries of the code. Just here, start with 1 and go all the way down to 960, or however many they are. And you know these nerds are getting returns. They're going like $67,000 for a tranny bar room in Colombia. You know that they're laughing their behinds off as they're copying that line and pasting it into an Excel spreadsheet and then sending it to Elon or whoever does are going like, yeah, we keep finding it. You know what's going to happen? They're going to find this lie that it's only discretionary spending is only 4%. That's what they want you to think. They want you to think that so that even when you find it, you go like, well, we can only cut off, 10% of this discretionary. There is no rule, no law, and nothing in the Constitution that says that any spending is mandatory. Just wipe that from your brain. Everything is discretionary. Now, ladies and gentlemen, especially those of you that are new listeners or viewers out there on the YouTube, please subscribe to the channel today, by the way. If you don't subscribe to the channel, then your algorithm is not going to help other people like you who found this show today. It's not going to help other people like you find the program and grow this thing as it should, and always should have millions and millions of followers. This is another reason why they had to finally get rid of me on the Sirius XM Patriot channel after 13 years. Because I can explain things in a way, and I don't need experts or anyone to come in here and help me, that really makes people angry. They don't want to hear this, what I just said. Everything is discretionary. Well, except the debt. Well, maybe you can make the case that you have to pay the debt because Article 1, Section 8 does say you can borrow money on the credit of the United States. So it does kind of, if you can borrow it, it does kind of imply that you got to pay it back. So you might be able to make the case for debt payments. Joy Pullman has this at the Federalist. She agrees with me. If presidents can't control executive agencies, elections are fake. By the way, Axios is reporting that already 20,000 federal parasites, yes, you are a parasite, have taken Trump's buyout offer to resign. Amid the hundreds of, her subtitle is the Department of Injustice, FBI, and USAID are posing prominent test cases for how the Trump administration can reform a malignant federal bureaucracy. Amid the hundreds of substantive executive actions Trump has taken in his first 2 weeks, perhaps none matter more than his efforts at bureaucracy busting. That notably includes what Julie Kelly calls a Friday night massacre days ago at the Department of Injustice's January 6 prosecutorial staff, which erased 30 to 40 temporary positions Biden's DOJ had attempted to make permanent. Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove arguably has done more in 2 weeks than Trump's entire Department of Justice did during his first term. Together, they've sought the firing or retirements of numerous top FBI and DOJ personnel and an accounting of all FBI personnel involved in the J6010621 prosecutions. We have to use code here, folks, or some videos will get flagged. Martin is also directing an internal probe in the DOJ's abuse of a post-Enron obstruction statute that the SCOTUS said the department used unlawfully to imprison right-leaning Capitol protesters with help from Constitution-hating federal judges. The Office of Personnel Manglement and USAID are also posing prominent test cases for how the Trump administration can reform a federal bureaucracy that has, by design, resisted elected control since its inception. This really is the battle. Again, the parasite class thinks that it is untouchable. It thinks it's Kevin Costner and Sean Connery in that movie, The Untouchables. How can anyone that works at the leisure and service of a creature, something that was created, we created it. If we can't send people to where it lives or exists to uncreate it or to kneecap it, well, then what's the point? She's right. And then she gets into some more details. Joy Pullman and at the Federalist. And as she talks about a book called Masters of Corruption. We'll get into all of this. We're going to run out of time here for this segment. Go visit the website and sign up for a $5 Founders Pass, and you can hit the chat room during the timeout. CrusadeChannel.com/offer. We'll be right back. You know, if you listen to this song with earbuds on, good earbuds like my professional real radio announcer broadcasting earbuds, you know what you can hear on the introduction? You can hear Michael Jackson dubstepping. Making sounds with his mouth that it sounds like it's an instrument. It's not. It's a human. You can hear him. At any event, spinning the greatest music from the 1980s. The great American comeback decade here, and I think this one is another one. Mike Church here with you. This portion of the program brought to you by the Beast and Butt Rub and the Spice Trio Combo, which you can see right there. Chicken Mamu, Beast and Butt Rub, Acadiana Steak Seasoning. We have something for everyone. My rubs, by the way, handmade by us. I didn't job that out. Every one of those has won a trophy back there. Beast and Butt Rub has got 3 number 1, 3 first places. Chicken Mamu, 2 first places, and steak seasoning, 1 third place in a brisket contest. So every one of them back there has won a trophy of some sort. We developed them in our kitchen as we were competitive cooking here, and then as people said, "Hey, what did you cook that chicken with, or how did you make that?" Well, kind of developed over time. Our rubs are not 60-70% sodium. I'm not selling you salt. I'm selling you a seasoning. So don't let the price, well, that's an awful lot for that. Dude, it goes a long way because you add your own salt. Very, very low sodium. The Beast and Butt Rub here, though, this is just an everyday, and people love it. They use it on everything. Give it a try. I'll buy it back from you if you don't like it. Go to shop.mikechurch.com. Get yourself a bottle or 16 today. Give it away as a gift. Great gift for a barbecuer in your life. Don't forget the coffees, our Abbey Rose coffee, our Twin Peaks or Twin Pikes coffee, another small batch gourmet stuff, and of course our Capuchin Holy Roast coffee, all available, same store. Your purchases support the crusade. You're going to buy coffee, you're going to buy spices and rubs anyway, you're going to buy great books. We got them in the Founders Trading Post store. Shop.mikechurch.com. Don't forget the rosaries. Handmade rosaries. Speaking of, I never introduced this. This piece here that you see sitting on the display mantle behind me, my brother went to Turkey. He went to Ephesus. This is Our Lady of Ephesus. This is a bottle of Ephesus miracle water. It's taken from the font at the original location of the Holy House. And where Our Lady was in Ephesus with the apostles, there is a house that was there. It's a tourist attraction today. And you can get, this actually has miracle holy water in it. So somebody was complaining that, well, why isn't the Blessed Mother part of this jackass's show? The Blessed Mother is always a part of this jerk's show. We say a prayer before almost every segment here. It's called a Hail Mary. Perhaps you've heard of it. So, these little snide, just these little trivial things out there. Why does it bother people so? Why do they have to know that I got him to say something? No, I put that bottle there of my own free will and volition. I didn't put it there for you. I put it there for me. And I put it there for her. So, in any event, if anyone else wants to complain about the lack of religious artifacts that are on the shelves behind me, take it up with someone who cares. Which would not be those that we put back. By the way, there's other pieces that you can't see back there, including a holy relic. So enough of this, not Catholic enough for some of you people. No wonder people don't want to convert to the faith, because they go in chat rooms and they see people like you in there. And they go like, what? Why would I want to become you? Better chart, please. Sometimes things just need to be said. Well, Mrs. O'Connell, don't feed me the intel. You know I'm going to comment on it. Why do I care? Speaking of things I don't care about, here, play this one. Play number 15. Play Mal Murphy, the governor of New Jersey. You know what ought to happen here? CBP ought to show up at the governor of New Jersey's house. They ought to arrest this illegal alien, throw her in a paddy wagon, then they ought to arrest him for harboring a fugitive. I'm in hot pursuit of a fugitive from the law. You can't have people in charge of things grandstanding and saying that that's a law for thee, but not for me. So this guy thinks that Trump, it's almost like he's daring him. I dare you to come get me. Yeah, watch.
Talking about, I don't want to get into too much detail, but there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to. And we said, you know what, let's have her live at our house above our garage. And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
Did you make her sweep? Is she mopping anywhere? I'm just asking for a friend. Has she mowed the lawn? Has she gotten the shears out and trimmed a hedge? Has she taken the garbage out? I bet she's the maid. I bet she's... And he's going, yeah, but she volunteered to do that. You let her do it, dude. Back to Joy Pullman at thefederalist.com under the presidents can't control executive agencies, elections are fake. The administration says claims that DOJ personnel don't have proper security clearances to access USAID information are also false. I had to skip ahead 2 pages. According to a 2024 book by former Trump administration USAID official Mark Moyar, Masters of Corruption, Voorhees routinely weaponized security clearances to stymie the policies of elected officials. This is the guy that was working inside this Voorhees character. By the way, what was Jason on Friday the 13th's last name? Voorhees. Coincidence? This Voorhees character was trying to stifle any attempt to get inside USAID, find out where they're spending money, and then when it was discovered we were doing what they're doing, to stop them. Masters of Corruption, Voorhees routinely weaponized security clearances to stymie the policies of elected officials, breaking USAID senior officials put on leave after physically trying to stop Doge from accessing agency systems. 2 USAID officials, Jean Voorhees and his deputy, were put on leave late Saturday night after refusing to allow Doge members access to USAID systems. And then there's a pic there of what happened. Democrats on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee sent a letter to Secretary of State Marco Rubio Sunday complaining about the incident and insisting that by law, Congress must determine whether the president can revise a president-created agency. These people are mad and they accuse Trump of coming in and being a dictator. Congress, the U.S. Senate, and the House, Democrats are trying to dictate. They always project. USAID officials placed on leave include Voorhees, Employee and Labor Relations Director Nicholas Gottlieb, and Assistant General Counsel for Ethics Jack Oweiler. Doesn't sound like they had any ethics, Joy. Moyar's book says Oweiler and Voorhees are some of the agency's most politicized employees. Masters of Corruption says Voorhees intentionally delayed Moyer's security clearance so he could not enact Trump's policies, and in an alleged retaliation for Moyer reporting entrenched corruption and criminal activity at the agency. It says Voorhees lied to Moyer and others about delaying the clearance. It alleges Oweiler helped deny Moyer a security clearance on partisan grounds with no due process. Senator Chuck Grassley sent letters to USAID about the alleged whistleblower retaliation, naming Voorhees. He received no answers. In his book, Moyer says he was harassed by the national security state for disclosing evidence about USAID that included unauthorized personnel actions, most notably the creation of a new civil service deputy, bullying of employees, allocation of nearly all CMC travel money to 2 individuals, maintenance of a small inner circle of favorites that dominates hiring panels and receives most of the perks. These guys got it made! USAID has funded organizations facilitating illegal immigration into the United States, foreign abortions, climate change hysteria, transgender ideology, international Marxism, and anti-white racism, according to a 2022 Heritage Foundation report. And then she says, Democrats claiming Trump will politicize agencies by installing loyalists are only expressing rage that Republicans are attempting to take the keys to the unconstitutional power structure Democrats have controlled for more than a century. You know, this is almost like you see, like it's the end of the Star Wars movie. You know, that Darth Vader and his minions are going to ultimately be beaten and the Death Star is going to get blown up. Doesn't everyone want to see the Mordor Death Star blown to pieces? With everyone on board? Also similarly decimated? The bureaucracy, Joy Pullman writes, also distributes patronage by doling out favors and finances, favorable decisions and contracts. Well, the system has always been filled with patronage. There's nothing you can do about that, by the by, other than have a small government that doesn't have a lot to dole out. That's how you deal with that. But it's always been. And in the 19th century, there were all manner of complaints. As a matter of fact, we got the 17th Amendment because of the patronage system. Supposedly, we just sent the election of senators back to the wonderful people in the states, you see, and took it away from the state bureaucrats in the legislatures that were receiving all this patronage, then it would get all cleaned up and no one would be crooked anymore. How'd that work out for us? If the executive cannot control his own personnel, agencies, and funding lawfully given to him by a duly elected Congress, elections mean nothing. If the executive is not actually an executor, then the entire bureaucracy is an autocratic, self-licking ice cream cone. It runs the country, not any elected official, and Congress is complicit because it allows the distribution of opium funds to Afghanistan and queer safe spaces in Kenya without ever having to take a public vote on any of this garbage. So long as these taxpayer-provided slush funds slather their retirements and relatives with nonprofit and contractor lard. It's like I say, all of official Mordor is an industry. Whatever you want to call unelected bureaucrats and nonprofit grifters distributing funds obtained from American citizens against our consent, as expressed in elections and line item votes, it is not a republic nor a democracy. If Trump can't fire his own employees and redistribute public funds the executive branch has been given by law, he's not really the president, and elections are fake. All this means Trump isn't weaponizing or politicizing these agencies. He's fighting their inherent weaponization. Firing and investigating people who abuse public power and ending the theft of American labor to fund evil international patronage schemes. That isn't retribution, it's justice. And again, we want all of them gone. We want the entire system of patronage and corruption eliminated. The American public has been stolen from for a century now, and especially in the last 60 years since federal tax withholding began. They know this. They know that they're thieves. You have the scion, you have the audacity of Elon Umar, Jamie Raskin, and all the rest of them grandstanding in front of an agency, demanding that all of this wonderful money that's theirs has to be spent as they say, which is basically saying our money, and then it must be distributed to the rest of the world who they say is in need of it. No more. Draw the line across this line and no further. We must draw the line here. Remember the line from Captain Picard? We draw the line here, not a step further.
Oh, come on, Captain. You're not the first man to get a thrill from murdering someone. I see it all the time.
Get out!
Or what? You'll kill me? Like you killed Ensign Lynch?
There was no way to save him.
You didn't even try. Where was your involved sensibility then?
I don't have time for this.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt your little quest. Captain Ahab has to go hunt his whale.
This is not about revenge.
Liar!
This is about saving the future of humanity.
Jean-Luc, blow up the damn ship!
No! No!
The line has to be drawn here, and no further.
I will not sacrifice the Enterprise.
I love this line.
We've made too many compromises already. Too many retreats.
They invade our space, we fall back.
They invade our space, and we fall back.
They conquer entire worlds, we
Yes,
fall back.
entire worlds, and we fall back. Not again.
Not again.
The line must be drawn here.
No
this far, no farther. And I will make them pay for what they've done.
Where? That's it, Jean-Luc. The line must be drawn here. No farther. Magdalene Rose, Mike Church Show political affairs correspondent. Big day today, Magdalene. We might get RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard votes in their committees today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And I think what's interesting is that RFK Jr. has emerged as Tulsi has emerged as a stronger candidate in terms of confirmation than RFK Jr. has. People are coming out in support of Tulsi. I think RFK has a bit of an uphill battle today.
Well, it seems as though there are those on the fence, and Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy, who, by the way, is going to get primaried. As a matter of fact, he is already being primaried. The primary guy is Louisiana's Treasury Secretary, John Fleming. John Fleming has already announced he's coming after Cassidy's seat, and Cassidy is not worthy. He's the greatest example of a rhino in the history of rhinos. So I don't know that Cassidy has anything to vote for, but if he has any shot left in Louisiana, it is not even contestable that the people of Louisiana want RFK Jr. and want President Trump's cabinet confirmed. That's what we voted for. You did not get sent to the United States Senate representing us to go do and pull shenanigans like this. So I don't know. The guy's a quirk, though. And I've met him. I've met him twice. I sat next to him on an airplane flight once for 2.5 hours. He is a doctor, and this is his hang-up. He's going to eliminate. Dude, you're not a very good doctor. If you think that the entirety of the vaccine schedule is sacred as St. John's Gospel, there's something wrong with you, Dr. Cassidy.
And I think that's been the frustration, is that these moderate holdouts on RFK Jr., they're picking one thing to attack him on. They're not giving him a full look. And even more than that, Trump is getting to a place of scary efficiency. So if you are a Republican senator and you don't vote for one of his nominees, and you're not Susan Collins, who I think we're like a little bit grateful we have her seat in Maine, so she gets a little bit of leeway. But if you are anyone other than Susan Collins, do you not see what Donald Trump is doing? He's getting rid of government agencies. He is strong-arming Canada and Mexico into doing what he wants. That is what he's doing. Do you really want to upset him at this point?
Why? Look at the tour de force that he's conducting every day in the White House.
It's massive, and it's being assisted by one of the most powerful men in the world, in Elon Musk. Think about that, Republican senators. Elon Musk is eviscerating government waste. He is taking a sledgehammer to anyone who abuses government power. And then they change the USAID leadership to Marco Rubio. And Marco Rubio did a very interesting thing where he shared that when he was a senator, he used to file requests. He used to have questions for that organization, and no one would get back to him. They stonewalled him. Yep. He's now going through with a fine-tooth comb. You really think it's worth voting against RFK Jr. if that's what Trump's doing just in the first couple weeks to an agency he pretty much never talked about before? Well,
Marco Rubio basically said in that interview that we're moving it to the State Department. You know, you don't always, in an instance like this, don't lay all of your cards on the table so that they know what you're doing. And he doesn't have to. But basically, we're going to move the USAID into the State Department. Does it need to continue to exist? I think, look, when you in that with a question mark, Trump's already made his mind. Get rid of it. Just don't tell him you're going to do it. Just get rid of it. We're just going to write it off. Did you also see yesterday? I forgot to talk about this. All of you that were like, my church is a fraud. I saw he's not going to eliminate the Department of Education. I told you. Just did it yesterday. Executive order is out. Start dismantling it. Send it back to the states. Don't need it. That executive order was signed in the White House on television. So for those of you that said he's not going to eliminate it, saying, what? The DOE is GONG, gone.
It is. And I think we're at a point now where the left-wing media cannot keep up with the things he's doing to them. And they've spoken about this sort of blitz attack strategy that he's unleashing, where every day it's, of course, the regular governance of the country, but his strategic actions to dismantle bureaucracy and destroy the Democrat Party from the ground up is so massive that they talk about USAID. They don't even get to coverage of the Department of Education executive order because they are so under siege. And I've read some of the Capitol Hill reporting that reporters are putting out that Democrats are sharing from within that organization. And they're saying that there is more panic over this than there was over 9/11. that to them this is a bigger issue because it will dismantle their entire money operation. That's why we put Elon in this position of power. No one thought Elon was going to come in and be a Jared Kushner. We thought he was going to come in and be a sort of anti-corporate wrecking ball, which he's turning out to be.
Well, if you're one of the people that was a critic of Trump 1.0, as Ann Coulter was, Ann Coulter, if you follow her on Substack, it's Ann Coulter's, what is it? In any event, you can find her. Ann Coulter's going like, I am digging the non-Jared Kushner Trump 2.0. If we'd have gotten this in 2017, we wouldn't be in the pickle we're in today.
And I think that that's really important because we often wonder through the covering of that White House what was going on. Because we knew that Trump as a person was sort of a bit of an anarchist and wanted radical transparency. So there's only one group of people that left his orbit, and it is the Kushners. His son Don Jr. is still there. Eric and his wife Laura, obviously key involved. Melania is there. So obviously the problem last time was Ivanka and Jared Kushner, and you see it in Ivanka's social media posts. She is in some ways geared very much towards a liberal eyes on her content. That's who she is. That's fine. But she and America First agenda cannot coexist in the same space. Kushner being out and being in some ways replaced by Elon as sort of the on-to-the-side, non-confirmed advisor is a great thing for America because Elon will say, cut that whole agency, they're sabotaging you. And that's all Trump has ever really wanted someone to tell him, just what to gut. And then you have Elon's army of nerds. Nerds are back. They're doing nerd things. All right, Magdalene, we're going to wrap that up. Now, we will jump on live if there is going to be any substantial discussion in the committee for RFK Jr. and for Tulsi Gabbard's nominations. Again, I think RFK Jr. ultimately, even if it has to be recessed, he's going to be confirmed because that's just, it's too big. But we'll talk about it. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Folks, hang on here because when news breaks out, we break in. Remember, we really need your subscriptions. $5 a month gets you started. CrusadeChannel.com/offer. CrusadeChannel.com/offer. Have a safe and blessed remainder of the day. God bless you and Mary keep you.